Okay guys, so I'm going to do this first part of this review inside the car because the gardeners are in the park here and it's very noisy, so you won't be able to hear me. It's a little quieter inside the car, the window's closed, but I got a really interesting product here today. This is the XK X450. This is a really unique product. It's a multi-rotor and an airplane all-in-one. It's got 3 motors here, so it's like basically a tricopter. It does vertical takeoffs and landings with a one-touch button. So one-touch takeoff, one-touch landing. Obviously, it's like a wing, so it's got elevons here, so you can fly it like a fixed wing. So it's airplane mode or fixed wing mode, and it also has the vertical takeoff mode. The motors will tilt up here in the front, and then you basically have a tricopter, and you can do a vertical takeoff. There's also a vertical mode where it will actually hover vertically like this, and it'll just use the 2 motors here, and it'll turn off the back motor. So that's another interesting mode. And it also has the ability to add a Fpv camera. There is right here underneath is a little hole for an Fpv camera. You can actually tilt it. It's an option. I think they use some sort of Wi-Fi FPV system that is not included in this one, but I may add my own analog FPV system in a future video. Uses a 3S 1000 milliamp hour LiPo, includes charger of course, and a controller is also included here. Uses the FHSS protocol. This is their standard XK controller. Has a 3-position switch here for multi-rotor mode, airplane mode, and vertical mode. And then it has this button here for doing switching out of the stabilization mode and into 3D mode or trick mode. Probably not going to do that because I'm not sure how to do tricks on this thing. I'll have to figure that out. And then it does have a one-touch takeoff button down here, so it's pretty simple. You know, obviously you can use this to fly as an airplane or as a multi-rotor. So go ahead, plug it in, get it set up, and we'll see how it flies. We'll obviously take it off in multi-rotor mode first. Okay, so go turn the controller on first. Uses 6 AA batteries. Go ahead and plug in the battery. And we have a blue flashing light here. It's not bound, so you have to raise the throttle all the way up and down. You hear a beep. I believe that we should be bound now. So you want to be in the multi-rotor mode, which is the left switch in the top position. The airplane mode is in the middle position, and the vertical takeoff is in the bottom position. You can see the motors already switched. So you can do this in flight, obviously. I'm a little hesitant to try that, at least for the first part of the review, but perhaps a little bit later. We'll see how it flies first. So I'm going to actually just use the one-touch takeoff button, and it should just hover. You can also use the 2 sticks down and out to turn the motors up and then raise the throttle to launch. I'm going to try the takeoff button first. So just long press that button. Okay, so that didn't work. So instructions in the manual are a little bit confusing, so I think you have to unlock the motors first and then hit the takeoff button. That's probably how it works. All right, so go ahead and unlock the motors. All right, so if you don't raise the throttle, it'll lock the motors again. So unlock the motors again. So the takeoff button doesn't seem to be working, so I'm going to unlock the motors and just raise the throttle. There we go. So there's no GPS hold, so if it's windy it will get blown around, but you can kind of see, I mean, it acts like a multi-rotor. Left, right is right, left is left, back is back, forward is forward, and it's using those 2 motors in the front with the servos to basically move. You can see here, I'm moving the stick forward. And then the yaw should work. So it has a barometer in here, so it has basically altitude hold, so it is in the middle position where the throttle is kind of centered. So you can just kind of fly it around like this, like a kind of like a multi-rotor. And so the responsiveness of these controls is a little unusual. Left and right is very responsive, but forward is very responsive, but back is very sluggish. It will go backwards, but it's a lot slower, so it's more responsive going forward, but going backwards it'll slow. It takes a little time for it to sort of pick up little speeds, so keep that in mind. Left and right is pretty fast. Yaw is pretty fast. So it just takes a little bit of getting used to. So let's just fly it around a little bit here in multi-rotor mode. And I'm kind of wondering how it will switch into airplane mode. We'll do that here in a second. Yeah, so it flies pretty much as I expected. Basically any kind of a drone with altitude hold, it maintains its altitude. See how stable it is here. I'm not really controlling it a whole lot. It does have a tendency to want to drift backwards, but it's fairly stable. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try the airplane mode now. Basically, I'm just going to turn the switch to the middle position. I'm assuming it's going to try and pick up some speed, so I'm going to try to do it just from a hover and see what it does. Okay, so yeah, it does move the motors forward. Oh, this thing's fast. And then when it turns that back motor off, it's really quiet. I can barely hear it. I hear the gardening noises behind me much louder. Let's see if I can bring it closer. There you go, just a little bit of speed. I think it has altitude hold in the stabilized mode as well. So it should be fairly easy for a beginner to fly. I'm not having any issues. Alright, so I'm going to flick it back into multi-rotor mode here. See if I can do it in front of me. There it goes. So it takes a little bit of time for it to switch back into multi-rotor mode. And keep that in mind. It will keep going forward for a little bit before it switches. I'm going to try going into the vertical mode now. So let's see what that does. So forward here. Okay, so this is the vertical mode running on just 2 motors in the front. And of course it's got altitude hold, so this is the yaw, of course. All the axes do seem to work as expected. It's not quite as stable. It's using the elevons there to sort of maintain the hover. Very interesting. Obviously, I think this mode is probably going to use the most battery, and then the airplane mode is probably going to use the least amount of battery. Alright, so I'm going to switch this back into multi-rotor mode. It goes into the horizontal hover. Now this might be really interesting to FPV. I'll have to figure out how to get a camera inside there. Alright, so let's see here. This is full stick forward. Let's turn it around and see how fast this is. Full stick forward here. Does lose a little bit of altitude when you go forward full stick, so keep that in mind. Alright, let's try the airplane mode again. So it does climb when you raise the throttle. Flies pretty good as an airplane as well. Of course, there's no wind right now. And of course, the flight controller is pretty much doing most of the flying, I think. Especially considering there's all that drag behind there for that third motor. Yeah, so I switched it and you can see how much it drifted there. It'll just keep on kind of going in that same direction until you reverse course, so keep that in mind when you're switching. It's not too bad overall. I think I'm going to try and read up on how the trick mode works, because that was really unclear in the manual. There's this red button here. Obviously it's red for a reason. I think it's probably because the flight controller's turned off, and you'll have to probably fly this completely manually. I'm not sure if I'm quite ready to give that a try yet. I think I'd like to have a little bit more fun with this one before I crash it. And then the 6G mode, which is what this is, the non-trick mode, super easy to fly and lots of fun. Okay, so that's going to do it for this video. I'll have another one soon. This looks like a lot of fun. And I think to just land it, I'm just going to bring it to the ground, and then I think the motors will just stop, or I can just use the throttle kill. Bring it down. And just hold the throttle down. It's not locking. So you have to... No, I think you have to hit the... No. Actually, you don't do anything. It'll just... If you just let go of the sticks, it will turn off the motors. That's it. Pretty easy.